Hello, dear ones, and hello to you, Kelly Bonsall.
Hello, hello.
I'm Uma Joy, and Kelly and I are here tonight for our Facebook Live. And it's a highlight for both of us because it just is a really wonderful time to connect with each other and listen to what the Muse wants us to talk about and to connect with those of you that are here with us, whether it is that you're here live or you catch this video later. Um, so, Kelly, it's good to be back together. I mean, we were here last Monday, but and we didn't see each other for a whole week, which is very unusual for us, as we didn't have our Thursday night creative musings class. And excuse me while I take a kitty down from. Thank you very much, Kat. And so, yeah, I missed being with you. It feels like forever since we've been together.
I know. It's so funny how the routine of it, and
Hmm.
then feeling even more like the connection that we were having like daily for the 21 daily practices.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I mean, it's not a nice break from you, but a nice break of just like being with my family and everything. But then, yeah, I've missed I've missed our moments. And I was looking at the calendar, and this is our last Monday for of Monday Musings of 2021. And I have this reading hanging in my closet, and it's from John O'Donohue's "To Bless the Space Between Us." And I read it very often in the morning, and it's called a morning offering. And so I read the whole thing today. I'm not going to read it all for our live here, but I did want to share the last bit because it got me thinking about how this relates to the energy that we moved into for the solstice, what we've been building up this year, and sort of the conversations that we've had live and just with each other about what we're looking forward to in the year, coming up. So, this is by John O'Donohue. This is the last stanza of A Morning Offering. May I have the courage today to live the life that I would love, to postpone my dream no longer, but do at last what I came here for, and waste my heart on fear no more. And I just think that that is such a beautiful the first line, to live the life that I would love, and not that I'm supposed to do or meet my goals or have my resolutions, or but just to live the life that I would love, and to think about, we've been exploring that. I mean, we've been exploring that all year. We've been exploring that our whole lives, right? Really. But like specifically kind of tuning into that through these 21 daily practices. And what is it that is going to that gives us that life that we love, and how do we have the courage to let go of those things, keep them buried in the compost from being in that darkness, and what are we going to bring, into the light and call towards us that we don't already have in our basket and in our
Mhm.
world. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We know there's two parts of that um, I shared with you just very briefly before this call, and a step I'm taking into a an additional training this year with our intentional creativity community. And as a chiropractor for what 39 years and being very involved in alternative healing, that's a lot of what this program is about. And so the life that I love, that's part of a huge part of who I am. And the term being a healer is not one that I really connect with, and yet I am a practitioner of the healing arts, and I'll have to do some more looking at what my connection or difficulty with that word is. But whatever the term we want to use, that is part of the life that I love, the part that I can't hold back.
Yeah.
And so it's very timely in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And hearing you like talking about the word healer, and you've mentioned that a few times, like, and you
Mhm.
say, and I'm a healer, but I mean, I don't really that word. And I've wondered, what it is about that word that, because
Mhm.
I mean, you are, but I think you also, I mean, and correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think your belief is that you are like making an offering and it's the person that's doing the healing,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
you're just like providing the path for that to take place. And
Yeah.
um yeah, but I
I think.
sometimes think of that with like the word teacher,
Mhm.
and it makes me think about these labels, or like, I don't know, but I think it's important to have some kind of like a structure around what we're working towards, because that gives us some steady like things to step on in the path. They're just like, I don't know, like I get all over.
Yes.
And I also wonder sometimes if I limit myself because I'm like, well, this is what I do. Like when maybe there's like this other thing that doesn't fit into that label.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Mm.
But I'm also thinking about this reading and that idea, and really wanting to take some time before the new year. I mean, the solstice was a beautiful transition for like moving into the next phase of the wheel, but there's something about the actual number of the year like changing, like January 1st, that
Mhm.
um at least in my life has like symbolized that moving into the
Mhm.
possibilities of something new. And doing a creative practice, like letting myself just kind of go into that thing that I know how to do, that we know how to do, and let that find some language that does feel really rich and nourishing, whether that where a teacher comes up, or for you healer, or if there's maybe more language that can be useful,
Right.
and
Yeah.
finding that. Yeah.
I think you hit it right on. I don't believe I do the healing. And well, isn't that what a healer does? Is a healer heals. And I'm very clear. I don't do the healing. And I may hold space for someone to work with healing themselves. I may guide, I may support, but forever I have fully believed and that every body knows how to heal itself. And it doesn't mean that, well, if you're not healed, that something is wrong. And I don't mean it in that way, but I do believe that we have the innate ability and knowledge within us to heal in whatever capacity is available to us. And so I just hold space for that to happen.
Yeah.
And the whole time that since I've been in practice, you know, I've been one of those that, you know, I don't want to label people. Somebody comes in and says, "Oh, well, I've got this disease process." It's like, I don't treat diseases. I support the person to heal themselves. And yes, I understand all of that stuff about, well, we need this label so we know how to do this and that. But it's like, you know what? I don't treat the disease. I treat the person who may be working with that disease process.
Yeah.
Anyway, so those are
Yeah.
some of the
It,
idiosyncrasies.
it makes me think about, so I read Eckhart Tolle's book A New Earth
Mhm,
many, many years ago, and kind
mhm,
of picked through it a little bit, going back to it from time to time. But something that stood out was about like that, those labels. And not only like labeling ourselves, like I am a teacher, I am a mother, I am an artist, like that is not the I am. Like that is a role that we play in this life at this time in
yeah,
our life,
yeah,
but um And then even to the point of like when you label something that you see, like that is a tree, and you give it a name, that it like the way that I interpreted it when I was listening to that part of the book was almost like it loses, there's something that's lost in like
Mhm. Yes.
trapping it in that label and that word, you know?
Yeah.
And it makes me think about exploring that more and like what is
Mhm.
the essence of what we do and who we are, and in moment to moment how we shift and move and change and embody different pieces of ourselves. And sometimes we come back to that role, and sometimes just we think we might, but then we never do. And you know,
Yeah.
and if you're stuck in that label, well, I am this, and then you're not doing that, um I don't know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the work that I feel like I've been successful with in the past, I don't know, maybe just like 4 to 6 months or something, we've talked a lot about being present. And like I'm really noticing that I'm present more than I have been probably since I was a child, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that connection to being present and being who I am in that moment without needing to, I don't know. We've said the word label like like 50
Mhm.
times, but you know, that's the word. It's like I almost can see it like with a little sticker, like think, you know, like there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to if I am not that, then who am I? And that's where so many people identify with that label. And then that label is no longer accurate. What do I do now? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was another part. I want to segue so that I want to hit this other part of what that reading said that I also found very interesting. And read the very last line of that, and
Okay.
fear no more.
But do at last what I came here for, and waste my heart on fear no more.
Waste my heart on fear no more. So today I just finished a 6 hour class with Shiloh and our community, and it was called Symbols for Healing. And so one of the things about it was, what do we want to show up and heal right now? And it might change through that class, or it might change many times through this new year. But what was coming up for me is fears. And so I felt like, or I feel like, I came into this life with fears that are unreasonable fears. And it's like, what would it be like to live my life without those fears? And there are times that fear is a very reasonable thing to have, and it's survive and all that kind of stuff. And so I don't have a problem with that, but it's like, can I heal those unreasonable fears? And that's what the whole process today was about for me. And so what was a symbol, and so what do I want to feel? And this kind of segues into, what is it that we want to welcome to
Yeah.
come? So as we say farewell to 2021, the goods, the bads, the highs, the lows, the gains, the losses, all of it. And then we say, welcome 2022, or whatever is to come. Doesn't even have to wait till 2022. It might happen in an hour from now. So,
Yeah.
what are we wanting to bring in? And so, what was coming up for me, that's kind of been a theme for a while, is the continuing to awaken. And so the awakening in this scenario is like to have calm and joy and ease in my life, and to allow the flow of the beauty of life. And that's what I want to welcome. And by
Yeah.
releasing those fears, it allows those to happen. By allowing those to happen, helps to release those fears. I don't think it's a one before the other. I think they continue to happen, and maybe some of it can just happen that quickly, and
Yeah.
the that come along with it.
Yeah.
So um, I want to hear what you would like to welcome, and I also want to acknowledge that those of you that are showing up live, if you would like to post in the chat, we would love to know that you're here, and what you would like to welcome in. And it's not necessarily, oh, what's your New Year's resolution, but
No.
what do you welcome? So,
Yeah.
what are you welcoming, Kelly?
I don't have like a very clear, succinct, like thought yet. I
Hmm.
I I am looking forward to going through a creative process and doing which we might talk about in a little bit, but the Mojo mantra, like last year, just going through something to help
Hmm.
me just sum up to like a word, of what that welcoming energy is. Because I tend to, my mind can feel like a lot of like all over the place at times, a lot of the time. And so, but what I know that I'm welcoming in is more of just like trust. So as I'm saying it, and when you're talking about fear and like looking at like, you know, I don't imagine myself being able to just like squash my fear completely, but I do imagine myself bravely doing despite the feeling of fear. And so just cultivating that bravery. And as I'm hearing you when what you were just speaking, I'm like, yes, 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 yes. And then all of a sudden I had this like little twinge of like overwhelm, like, how am I going to make all that happen? Like, how am I going to come up with these like great ideas and plans, and the word and the thing that I'm going to welcome in? And then how am I going to remember? And like, I mean, it was like all of a sudden I just like in a split second I'm like, the lists and I need to hang it here, and I mean, it was just like. And then what I realized was it's not about like, okay, here's what I'm going to do, and then like here's how I'm going to do it, right? It's about being in the moment, and it's about like planting those little seeds, like doing a creative practice and having a word, and yes, like seeing it, but and connecting with it. But it's not like a thing that you're going to check off, and then by the end of the year you're going to be like, ta-da, I'm done, I did that thing. um it truly, I do trust now, because of like the processes that we've been doing. I trust that as I set that intention, that the teachers that I need will come in, and the readings that I need will show up, and the things that I need to see, and the places I need to go, and that like it will unfold, and that I can be brave and trust myself to step towards those things and to receive those things. and and then in a year from now I'll be like, oh my gosh, like, wow, look at all what happened, so
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, one of the things that I have really appreciated in the last number of years as the new year starts to come in, and yes, I used to make the New Year's resolutions that were completely obliterated by January 2nd. Um, but when I started focusing on how do I want to feel in this new year, or starting today. I mean, it does, yes, January 1, and I kind of like the 1122 that's coming up next week.
Yeah.
um but um so whenever we want to make that decision, how I want to feel, then I can, when I get clear on that, and like I was just saying, so yes, I really want to, you know I want to feel calm and joy and ease. And so as I look through the new year or through the coming year, I can say, wait a minute, I'm holding on to resentment. Is that in connection with, or conducive to, or in alignment with how I want to feel this year.
Yeah.
No, resentment is not in alignment with that. Okay, so what can I do to change that? As opposed to, well, I want to XYZ, on that's my New Year's resolution. I will never blah, blah, blah. And, so
Yeah.
yeah. And so that's made a real difference for me on how I look at that. And so, like the mojo mantra, what was the year? One year it was like, I really want to empower myself to feel bold. I don't want to, shrink back. Yeah, step into my boldness,
Yeah.
or um, nourishing myself. I want to feel nourished and flourished, and that kind of stuff. So those are some of the things that I've done in the past.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Last year was the first time I did it in that way with you. And it was such a beautiful experience. And my word was, and it's still hanging above my altar, it was enchantment. And
mhm.
it's been so fun to come back to that as like a, when things feel really serious, or when things feel really bland, or when things feel really like not working, like just that word, it has meant so many different things to me throughout the
Mhm.
year. But there's this like air of like, magic. And so it's like it's just been fun to have that as something to,
Mm.
to connect. And um I mean, just changing a mindset, just being like, oh, blah blah, this is so whatever. And then being able to switch it and be like, or I could think of it like this, and then my reality changes. And
Yeah.
that's so amazing that we can do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So what we're speaking of, this mojo mantra that we did last year, and one of the things that Kelly and I decided a couple of weeks ago was to pull that video out of our archive and to offer it as a gift for those of you that are on our site and that follow us and are our friends. And um, so watch for it here on our Facebook page. And if you're on our email newsletter list, it'll be sent in there as well. Somebody just loved that idea. And I'd love to know who you are. If either of you watching live want to say hello, but anyway, so yes, we will post that video as a gift to you, and so hopefully within the next 2 days it'll be up and ready for you.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we've been talking about some things that we can bring into, maybe in February, or at the beginning of the year, some more, offerings, and maybe a workshop around even
Ah,
kind of fine tuning what that means for you, whatever that word is that comes up a bit
yeah.
more, with maybe some cards or some painting. And
Yeah.
I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to that. Yeah.
And so Lila is saying hi to Uma and Kelly. I don't know if you get to see this
Oh,
or
yes,
not.
I can now.
There you go.
Hello.
Yes. Glad you're here with us. It's lovely to see. So yeah, we've got all sorts of things that we're wanting to share and expand on, and so we're also open to hearing from each of you as to what are things that are meaningful to you that you would like to see brought forward as well.
Yeah.
And so we generally keep this short. We're we're a little bit longer than usual tonight, and so I'm just going to say that Thursday night will be our regular creative musing um, evening from 7 to 8:30 Mountain Time. So that's 6 Pacific, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern. That's it.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, so you are welcome to join us for that. Just dropped in to hang out with you guys. Well, we're happy to have you hanging with us, Lila. And so, yeah, so Thursday night we will be doing creative musings, and then we will be back here Monday Night Live, same time next week. And we'll see what the muse wants us to talk about next week.
Yes.
So, Thank you for showing up, Kelly. It's lovely to be with you.
Yes, you
Yeah,
too, Uma. Thank you.
all right. Many blessings to all of you.
Mwah.